That's thuglifevideos.com. Check them out. They got a lot of great stuff. But let's welcome Sideways Steve Marshall.
Uh, well, you guys told me to put my phone sideways, and when I put it sideways, it doesn't matter. No matter what, my whole thing is don't behave. No matter what I do, nothing behaves. You tell me to put the phone sideways, so of course the phone doesn't work sideways. Now I'll put it
This
vertical.
is good.
That's
That
funny.
happened to me last week, my man. I feel your pain out of nowhere.
Listen, it's very important, as you know, Jeff.
Oh,
But that's ideal.
It worked.
You just figured it out.
Yeah, well, it's not like it's not calculus, but you know what? It's important for the audience to continue to change the stage picture because they get bored. In other words, that's why when you watch a lot of comics, you watch a lot of comedians and they're just set up punchline, and then it's like, snore. So I try and change the stage picture as much as I can.
This is what I love. One of the things. There are a lot of things about Steve Marshall that I love, but I'd say anytime I have anybody come in the city, anytime somebody asks who my favorite comics are, Steve, you're always top of the list. And the main reason is because you still perform. You care about every show, and not just every show, about every interaction that you have. So even now, as you're doing this, instead of just talking about changing that, you literally turn the camera around and you
because it's the farthest thing from a hobby for him.
Yes.
It is not a hobby. This is not, I don't know what I want to do with my life. This is what I want to do
This
with
is
my
who
life.
Steve Marshall is.
Well, first of all, that's really nice of you, Jeff, what you just said. This is my life. And Robert, what you said, interacting with people is my life. And when I come, there's no such thing as like, oh, it's just a Zoom show. People are watching you. You should love this so much. I had an old improv teacher, Martin Harvey Freeberg with Second City, and he'd see people come and sit down, and he'd go, get up, it's death when you sit. And he used to tell us with exuberance and excitement, if you're not excited to get up there, if you're not excited to get on that stage, don't fucking go up there, Marty would say. And he was, so this is my life. I sacrificed everything in my life to do this. I love it. Jeff, that was so nice, Jeff. Thank you.
Oh, for sure. It was just, word vomit.
It reminds me, Steve, what you just said reminds me, yeah, you have to love this. I spent most of my career early on as a minister in pretty small churches that had a lot of empty seats. And then Charlie Daniels, who passed away, the singer passed away last week, his book, Don't Sing to the Empty Seats. You sing to the people that are there. And because of that, you embrace those people and you make that lasting connection. That's a great point.
Yeah. In other words, does it really matter? And this is a little what we're going to talk about with the clip we're going to show. I don't look at the audience and say, I'm only going to entertain the rich people. I don't look at the audience and say, I'm only going to entertain the NYU students. John DiResta, who you may know, I hope will be on the show. He made a couple of movies, Miss Congeniality with Sandra Bullock and Michael Caine. He had his own TV show, 17 episodes. I'm just telling you this so you know who this guy is. And he discovered me at the old New York Comedy Club. There were only 2 people in the audience and I did an hour. And he was sitting in the back of the room laughing his ass off. And he came up to me, he said, hey, dude, if John was an ex-transit cop, he has a clip speech. He goes, hey, dude, man, you're funny. You're like really funny. And we're going to be doing these police gigs. I'm a transit cop and they're a tough audience. And I never saw anybody do 2 people for an hour. How'd you like to open for me? And that's how I met John DiResta. So I see people go, I'm not going to do Eric. They're like, I'm not going to that gig. No one's going to be there. No one important is that gig. You never know who's in the audience, but also you should be giving it your best. Like you said, with a minister. It's funny because I've become kind of like, some people call me the deacon of comedy. I've gotten a little like a minister. And I'm so glad you said that. So with the ministers, are you a Southern Baptist? What type of minister was it?
I mean, it's similar, just the theology would be different. So it was, I grew up in Ohio, so Southern Ohio. Our church It's like a Nazarene church. That's the biggest denomination like ours, but ours was called the Church of Christ and Christian Union. So but it's very similar in how we worship and
So
interact.
were you a minister also, Eric?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, I was for 18 years, 20 almost.
See, so this explains so much. Your backstory. Sam Kinison came from a preaching family.
Sure.
Jackie Mason came from a family of rabbis.
Mhm.
So I think that's why when people see me, I'm like fire and brimstone. You know, I'm a kung fu person. Robert knows that. He's my sparring partner, and I belong to a lot of my brothers are Black and Hispanic. And when Novell Bell, the Black Taoist, when his mother passed away in Hollis, Queens, I went to the service, and it was a Black preacher, and it was like a show. It was fantastic. You know, he was just like screaming, "If you don't pick up the phone and call God every day, if you don't pick up the phone and call God every day, when you call him when you're in trouble, he will not pick up the phone because he will say, 'I do not recognize the number.'"
Yeah, but
And-
like sorry.
And that's sort of what evolved with me. Those of you that know me a long time, those of you know, I went from setup punchline, conventional comedian, to just throwing myself in 100%.
Because you're
I
also
wanna
a bit
show-
of a public speaker.
Yes, and
Like,
I
you have
want
a
to
public speaker side
I want to
to you.
show Jeff. I'm sorry to interrupt, man.
I'm sorry.
Just for anyone who hasn't seen Steve's act before, you're getting a taste of him here, and it's very similar on stage, which is one of the awesome things. He's consistent, both on stage, off stage.
I'm the same guy.
Yes, I want to show a clip from Caroline's. He sent us a clip. This is back from 2008. Do you want to help set it up, Steve?
Yes. So what happened was in 2002 or 2000, I started talking about, I don't want to behave anymore. I'm not going to behave. And it began with me. I said, Richard Pryor just brought the honest language of Black people. He didn't want to be an Uncle Tom. It was the 60s. So he left Las Vegas, threw away the tuxedo. And he started trying to be more authentic to his culture. So I said, why don't I just start talking to people the way we did in Brooklyn Public School? And I'm Jewish, I'm ethnic. All my friends are pretty much ethnic. I started telling ethnic jokes and misbehaving. But what happened in 2008, I started to talk more about why I started to tell ethnic jokes. And this is the beginning of this at Caroline's in 2008, New York City.
They are. But our sense of humor is the only thing that really connects us anymore. You know, lately America is supposed to be like, oh, it's equal rights, equal rights. Then you go to a dance club, and if you're not wearing the right thing, you can't get in, or if you're too old, you can't get in, or if you're not, you're not beautiful enough, you're too fat, you can't get in. A comedy club, seriously, is the only place. There's no velvet rope, there's no picking and choosing. This is the only place which really follows free speech in America. No other place really follows equal. It really is true that we can crack any joke we want here.
So that was me beginning to change my paradigm of how to do my show, Jeff. That was me beginning to say, you know what? Comedy doesn't have to be, that was me beginning to change the paradigm from comedy doesn't have to be just jokes. I got the jokes. People are laughing. But if I do the jokes, I can slip in a message. And that particular night, I started.
You found a way to use comedy to connect people. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's so crazy, Jeff. You're
it's
right.
very
Jeff,
rare.
you know how crazy I am. I started using ethnic jokes instead of to hurt people, to break the ice. I used the ethnic jokes, and then I flipped the script on them.
Bring them together.
I hooked them. The same thing. I would talk about sex, very explicit sex. I'm going to be frank. I would talk about oral sex, performing oral sex on women of different colors. And some people in the audience would be like, what the F did I show up for? And then slowly, like with the camera tonight, I rotate the script slowly. And I'm talking about equal rights and freedom of speech. And that's how it all began. And what I noticed was, Jeff, I know, and Eric and Robert, what I noticed was, like I talk about in that piece, freedom of speech, that people were excluding people. And when I was a young kid, I always got excluded. People are excluding people, not just because of their color or religion. They were too fat. They were too old. they weren't dressed properly. And I realized there was an intolerance in America for people who are different. And then as I did more shows, Jeff, I realized what it really was an intolerance to, not their skin color, not their religion. These people felt that we didn't measure up to their standards. And as you saw people buying Louis Vuitton purses, and as you saw these expensive high-end clothing stores open up in local malls, and as you saw sneaker prices go from $50 to $250, I saw that people were starting to create a standard. And if you didn't meet this standard of beauty, just like I fucking hate when men judge women and they rate them 1 through 10, and they go, she's a 7, I wouldn't go out with her. And ladies, you know this, you're watching the show. Most of these guys that rate women are a 3 or a 2 at best.
Always. And they're always the ones that have to comment on women's weight or the way they look, and it's like,
oh my God.
You look like you barbecue hot dogs and have like 7 every day. Just like,
well, you know what I always said? Here's these men who put women under all this pressure to be perfect and be so thin. And ladies, all of you have had sex with us. Just about every guy has that little gut over here, that little gut that just pounds away on you when we're on top of you with that little swimming pool of sweat in the belly button. You know what I mean? And the bad hot breath that goes by your ear. You know, we always put our head next to your head, and the bad breath is a and women are too fucking kind to say, hey, dude, do some fucking, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse, do some effing sit-ups. Do some effing sit-ups for crying out loud. And that's what my show became about. I started talking about things that were leading to equal rights and telling everybody that whatever you are, be more of it. Don't behave like anyone but yourself. So I went first. I said, I'm Jewish. I'm tired of being made fun of for being Jewish. I'm tired of people saying, you know how many people, Jeff, say to me, you got a big Jewish nose? F them. So now what I say is, I'm going to be more Jewish. I'm going to go to a plastic surgeon. I'm going to get the biggest
bigger nose
Jew head holds. I'm going to get like a 9-inch honker, and screw you if you don't like I'm Jewish. You're Italian, add more vowels at the end of your name. A-E-I-O-U and lasagna. You're black, get a bigger penis. Screw them. Be who you are. And that all began because I was the standard, Tony at Dangerfields calls me a regulation comedian. That all began around 1980, 1998, 1999. I'm a real New Yorker. You can hear an ambulance in the background.
It's not here. It's not in my. I'm in the woods, Steve. I have a house in Woodstock, and we don't.
So, well, that's nice.
And
that's another thing, Eric, that I see people do. If they don't put you down because you're too fat, if they don't put you down because you're or too anything, he's too Jewish, he's too Catholic, he's too this. Then they'll put you down because, oh, he's from upstate New York. Mm-hmm. I mean, when are people going to stop? So I saw, Eric, I saw this hate beginning around 2002. Now, I had received it as a child, even from my parents. My parents were not thrilled that I was Jewish. That's a whole nother episode. All right. My mother was actually a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant who pretended, Eric, to be Jewish. It's like she was in the WASP protection program for 15 years. I should have known it because she referred to matzah as the big Melba toast. That should have been a hint. And no, seriously, when I was bar mitzvah, her sister, as a F you to my mother, her sister wore the largest cross. This cross, Eric, was so large, Jesus himself could have laid down on the cross as just a way. And I'm being bar mitzvah. My Christian grandfather is in the front row. He's got a yarmulke on. He tilts it to the side. He looks like Frank Sinatra, and he's sitting in the front row with short sleeve shirt, Jeff, and tattoos. He can't be buried in Jewish cemetery. So I found out when my father passed away that, you know, my mother wasn't Jewish, but I was raised Jewish. I'm very proud to be who I am. And that became the message. Don't behave any other way than you want to behave. And it really, that's why it comes from the gut. My humor comes from the gut. I hope I'm not talking too much.
Not at all, man.
No, that's why we have you.
So much.
I have some questions.
You have other guests, but I have questions. I had questions I want to ask you, man.
Just two quickly. Do them quickly.
What is this, The
I'm
View?
gonna pick this one. I really, this one I was thinking about, man, because I know you from comedy and then from martial arts as well. I was a wrestler. You did a lot of kung fu, blah, blah, various arts, and we sparred. But in both of them, comedy and martial arts. It's a lot of just repeating the same techniques, the same habits, and training a skill set in an effort to be effortless.
Right.
Uh,
It's the
what-
effortlessness, right? And what it really is, it's not really repeating, it's repeating in practice. In
Yes.
practice, you repeat, but eventually through repetition, the same as if you have a mantra, you have a repetition, you transcend. And the key is to transcend. It's not necessarily to do the same act every night, but to be the same essence of who you are
yes,
every
to be
night.
that present.
To be present. You
moment,
always have to be in the
every
moment.
moment.
Like when I had my fakakta camera wrong, instead of panicking, I went with it. Ask me another quick question.
So my follow-up question on that thought is, what habits do you think are most important to practice?
What's most important to practice as a comedian?
Let's just, as a comedian, as a fighter, as a person.
I think humility is the most important thing, because I fought in the ring many times. I lost a lot of fights. And I think when you understand in life that you're not going to win every fight, that humility, see, the fighting is just a physical representation that you can touch and see of an intangible internal thing in us, the fight that goes on within us, that we have to let up on ourselves and learn to have more humility, not just with ourselves, and not pressure ourselves to be perfect. And that's going to translate to comedy. I see comedians going, I didn't get all the jokes in. You don't have to get all the jokes in. What you have to do is be present and let them see who you are, and have the humility to not hide behind your jokes. Don't hide behind your jokes. I always, when I coach people, said, the joke should not be bigger than you. You should be bigger than the joke.
Nice.
Steve, thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Also, I just want to say one
with
quick
us.
thing. Do I have time to say
Yeah,
one quick
yeah.
thing?
I think we have time for
That relates to all art.
Yes.
It does relate
Like
to
what
all
you were
our.
saying, like having to get all of it in. It's like, no, we can save one or two songs for next time when we get it better. Like,
Yeah,
let's just do the
you don't have
things
to
that
get
we
it-
know are great and work and make people feel good, because it's not all about us.
Right. And it's like, it's not getting all your material in, it's getting all of you present on the stage. If I can just say this, every day I've been doing Facebook Live, normally at 7 o'clock. And it's my way to show people not from New York on Steve Marshall Facebook that people started attacking me. Oh, New York sucks. Oh, New York is over. It's my way to show the country that New York is alive and well. I got a new show coming out probably in a week or two that I've been keeping secret and that I've been working on. And SteveMarshallComedy.com, Twitter at Don't Behave, Instagram, BeatCom Don't Behave. I hate fucking promoting. Thank you, Jeff,
Oh, it's great.
Robert, and Eric so much for letting me be me.
Love you, man.
Thank you.
Love
We
you,
love you,
Steve.
man.
Thank you so much for being here.
Love you guys. Good night.
Have a good night.